How's it going, troops? Jordan here, back again with another Black Ops Cold War loadout video. In today's loadout, we're going to be taking charge on the streets of Northern Ireland as we become an Irish Republican in what later became known as the Troubles. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and hit subscribe, and let's jump right in. With this Troubles loadout, we're going to be playing as an Irish Republican located in a troubled Northern Ireland, where conflict was all the talk between the Republic of Ireland and the United Kingdom. Because we're going to be role-playing as a member of the Provisional IRA, our playstyle for this loadout is going to be roleplay. And since we're using average weaponry and self-funded resources to stand our ground, I've labelled today's loadout difficulty as hard. Starting off with our primary weapon, we're going to choose the C58. The Provisional Irish Republican Army acquired various types of weaponry from outside support. Weapons from the M1 Garand to the Armalite AR-18 were wielded by the Provisional IRA and fired at civilians, soldiers and even some politicians who disagreed with a united Ireland and attempted to stop IRA operations that helped in proceeding with that. For this loadout, we're going to recreate the Armalite AR-18 as it was one of the popular rifles the IRA loved to use. So for our base weapon, we'll select the C58 assault rifle as our primary. But of course we're not going to go in bare bones with the C58, so let's talk attachments. For our first attachment, we're going to choose the 18.7 inch Ranger barrel. This extended barrel not only increases our bullet velocity by 100%, but lengthens the forged barrel to look more like the one on the AR-18, so that's why we're going to go with that. Our second attachment is going to be the 25 round speed mag. This magazine features a curved design, slightly similar to the base magazines used for the AR-18 rifle. Plus, the speed mag comes with a bunch of benefits, such as increased ammo capacity and faster reload speeds. For our third attachment, we're going to go with a drop shot wrap. Not only does the drop shot wrap look paramilitary, but by dropping to prone while aiming down sights, this will give us an edging stance over any loyalist trying to take us out. And for our fourth and final attachment, we're going to select the tactical stock. The tactical stock bears a close resemblance to the AR-18's default stock, and in-game provides us with an extra 20% in speed when aim walking through rooms and around corners. So now that we've discussed our primary weapon configuration, it's time to move on to our secondary weapon of choice for this loadout. For our secondary weapon, we're going to choose the Magnum. The Provisional Irish Republican Army carried with them numerous pistols for quick fire shots whenever they carried out attacks, or in the case of needing to defend themselves from incoming gunfire. Semi-automatic pistols such as the Browning High Power or Luger were typically the go-to choice, but revolvers were also common too, as they were easy to obtain and fired powerful rounds that would kill your enemy in one single shot. The only revolver we have in Cold War multiplayer is the Magnum, and so we're going to convert the Magnum into a compact version of the Webley Mark I. So let's take a look now at the attachments I've chosen for the Magnum. For our first attachment, we're going to choose the 4.7 inch tight snub. This cut down barrel will let us conceal the Magnum in our back pocket, so we can surprise our enemies when we pop off our shots quickly. Not only that, but this snub nose has an interesting benefit, allowing us to deal an increase in vehicle damage by a whopping 285%. Looks like no British Army truck is getting past us today. And for our second and final attachment, we're going with the Vandal speed loader. Vandal is one word the British government could describe these Irish Republicans, but the main reason we're choosing this is simply to hasten manual reload times and increase our reserve ammunition for when trouble does kick off. So now that we've discussed both our primary and secondary weapon configurations, it's time to move on to our perk setup. For our first tier perk, we're going to choose Tactical Mask. Balaclavas were worn by active members of the Provisional IRA as a way to protect themselves from breathing in harmful substances and to keep their identity secret from the British government, so we'll equip Tactical Mask as our tier 1 perk to reference this. For our second tier perk, we're going to select Quartermaster. The Provisional IRA were notoriously known for setting off timed explosives and bombs across the United Kingdom. Bombings like Manchester 96, Brighton 84 and County Down in 78 rattled the UK's economy and civilian safety significantly. The Provisional IRA however did tip off warnings to the police prior to detonation, which gave them ample time to evacuate civilians in the bomb's effective radius. Since the Quartermaster perk features a bomb with a clock ticking down, we'll select this as our tier 2 perk. And lastly, for our third tier perk, we're going to equip Ghost. Many bombings on cities and towns in the United Kingdom during this time were set off by IRA assailants, of whom the majority were never caught or sentenced. They surveyed locations, planted their explosives, and just like the wind, whispered away. We can mimic these offensive attacks by equipping Ghost, which will allow us to run in and out of combat without being detected on enemy radar systems. Moving on now to our equipment and field upgrade. For our lethal equipment, we're going to choose C4. The C4 explosive is going to replicate those bombings caused by the provisional IRA, but as there were numerous attacks during the Troubles and not just a single one, we're going to select the Danger Close wildcard, which will let us double up on our throwable equipment. Combining C4 explosives with Ghost and Quartermaster will grant us plenty of lethality in our arsenal that will sure leave a burn or two on the enemy. As for our tactical equipment, we're going to go with a smoke grenade. Tear gas canisters were seen used against civilians and soldiers on both sides during rioting and protests throughout the Troubles, and the closest thing to tear gas in Cold War is the smoke grenade, which creates a smoke screen for us to obscure our enemy's line of sight while we make a sneaky getaway. And lastly, for our field upgrade, we're choosing the proximity mine. It wasn't just car bombs and truck bombs that the IRA used during its armed campaign. They also set booby-trapped explosives against paramilitary groups such as the Ulster Volunteer Force and Ulster Defence Association, and even against soldiers of the British Army. Most of these booby traps were landmines buried over fields and by roadways, so to replicate these booby trap explosives, we'll equip the proximity mine as our field upgrade. So now that we've talked about our equipment and field upgrade, it's time to finish off this loadout with our score streak selection. For our first score streak, we're going to choose the RCXD. As mentioned, car bombs were a specialty of the provisional IRA, and to reference this in game, we can choose the RCXD score streak since it's a little remote control car with an explosive bomb attached to it. For our second score streak, we're going to go with armour. Being a paramilitary force, it makes sense that the soldiers of the provisional IRA would wear ballistic vests to help protect themselves from getting shot, so we'll equip armour to take more bullet damage in those intense firefights. And for our third and final score streak, we're going to choose artillery. During the Troubles, the provisional IRA used homemade mortars to attack targets in Northern Ireland, but it didn't stop there. In 1991, the IRA fired 3 homemade mortars directly at 10 Downing Street in an attempt to assassinate then UK Prime Minister John Major and his war cabinet, who at the time were meeting to discuss the Gulf War. No one was killed from the mortar blasts, although 2 police officers were treated for injuries. So to reference these cowardly attacks, we'll select the artillery strike as our third and final score streak. So troops, that wraps up my loadout based on the Troubles for Black Ops Cold War. Next time you boot up Cold War multiplayer, definitely give this class setup a try in game and fight to unite. If you did enjoy this loadout video, then give the video a thumbs up, I would appreciate it a lot, and make sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification button as well for more videos like this one. If you have any friends who might be interested in this sort of content, then share the video around with them to help give my loadout videos and my channel more widespread exposure. And if you want to see behind the scenes previews of my loadout videos, you can follow me on Twitter at jordanxbrookes for all the latest on there. So until the next video, I thank you all for watching, stay true to me troops, and I'll see you in game.
Hail to the king, Kilimanjaro, kill Catastrophe, kill Apocalypse, Killionaire.